It's cloudy with a couple of thunderstorms predicted on September 10. It's cloudy and thunderstorms predicted again on September 12, September 15 and September 17. I'm not doing a forecast for, your respective city wherever you are, but this is what the weather looks like when India plays their matches in the Asia Cup in Colombo next week. 10th is when India plays Pakistan, 12th Sri Lanka, 15th Bangladesh, and the final is on 17th. All these matches, all these marquee matches, the key preparation before the World Cup, are threatened by one common thing: bad weather. So as much as our eyes will be fixed on the action that we hope will take place on the ground, we'll also be looking upwards to the skies and hope that the weather gods will have some mercy and there won't be any downpour. Welcome to Game Time with me, Mihir. Vasavda. As always is Amit, Kamath. And if there is some background noise from my end, if you're hearing the raindrops, although it's like ideal setting for this episode, do excuse us. We'll try our best to not make it an hindrance. But Amit, Mumbai rains have unleashed again. You are, I guess, in some other city.
Well, I'm in Kolkata, where it's not raining today. Yesterday it was. Day before yesterday it wasn't. So I can completely understand what the Indian cricket team and all the other cricket teams are going through. I think they have one eye on the sky the whole time, which is a good thing. Why shouldn't you have one eye on the sky, right?
Yeah, it's romantic and all. I'm not sure if it's like sporty, but well, who are we to judge?
We are journalists. That's our job, right?
It is our job also to pass judgments, and we won't pass judgments. We'll be like proper upstanding ethical journalists and we'll put out all the facts, and that's what we are going to do in this episode because...
Wait, hang on. I thought the whole agenda of this podcast was to pass judgments about a shoddy job, right?
That's what...
Have I come to the wrong podcast recording? What is happening?
No, that's our USP. Like, all we do is sit in our rooms and pass judgments and hope no one passes judgments on our quality of recordings today. Again, like, it's not me, it's just the weather. You can't blame me. It's what the BCCI is saying. It's not us, it's the weather. Because that's what seems to have landed everyone in the soup as well. Not BCCI actually, the Asian Cricket Council, although like synonymous shayad hoga. But Amit, it's what a royal mess this Asia Cup has become.
A royal mess is just one of the ways you have to explain it, right? Let me just see if I can untangle this tangled web. Pakistan are the official hosts. It seems that 9 of the 13 matches are supposed to take place in Sri Lanka though, including Pakistan themselves are playing many matches in Sri Lanka despite them being the host. So I guess being a host is just a state of mind rather than anything else. Now, Mihir, how did we get here? How has this become so complicated? I know geopolitics and India-Pakistan is going to be the answer, but what is happening?
Exactly, that's what is happening. It's geopolitics. Who are you? I'm guessing a lot of our readers are more educated, more read than us. But to sum it up in a nutshell, I said readers, it should be listeners. Old print habits die hard. So Pakistan was awarded the Asia Cup. They were supposed to host the whole thing, and not in a strange way like you mentioned, not like most of the matches taking place in Sri Lanka with Pakistan being the hosts there. But as anyone with the right sense of geopolitical awareness would guess, that India said they won't be travelling to Pakistan for any of the matches, which then led to further complications. No other country who are participating in the Asia Cup seem to have any issues, and we've seen that because Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka have all gone and played in Pakistan. But India, they had cited security reasons as well as the economic condition of the country as two of the reasons to not go and play in Pakistan. Which, Amit, I don't know, very frankly, I find cricket teams' reluctance to go to Pakistan slightly strange, because it's not like other Indian teams aren't going to Pakistan, right?
Absolutely. On top of that, if terror is your excuse, then I think Sri Lanka is also the country that you should maybe avoid, because, you had terror attacks there. So as you mentioned, for any excuse, I don't think not going to Pakistan is a reasoning, because as you written yourself, as we've reported extensively, that we've had multiple teams just over the course of the last year who have gone to Pakistan. I believe the hockey team has gone there and played. What other teams have gone there, Mihir?
Hockey team, I don't remember, but there are certainly teams Bridge, for example, has gone and played there. I mean, I know a lot of people would say, "Ki, Bridge kya hai?" But Bridge is a sport that will be in news in the next couple of weeks when they play in the Asian Games. So it is a legit sport where India does well. And there are several others. I mean, there have been Pakistan teams that have traveled to India as well. You've seen the hockey team. They've come to Chennai very recently. The football team came to Bangalore. So there is cross-border sporting relations active in other sports. And just that cricket, we know it much beyond pure sport. So thoda usme political angle bhi aa jata hai, and I think that's where the sport has become a victim.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the bigger problem is because of all of this, things have gotten so complicated because we saw one of the most anticipated matches, India and Pakistan, happening in Sri Lanka on neutral territory. One innings get played and the next innings is completely washed out, which is, I mean, like putting a damp cloth on the whole enthusiasm. It's just farcical at this point, the way this whole tournament is kind of ambling on.
Yeah. And it's also important at this stage to kind of explain how the matches ended up being played in Sri Lanka. So after India refused to go to Pakistan, which again was a very hardball kind of negotiation, Pakistan were earlier not agreeing to having any of the matches played outside their country. Somehow, after multiple rounds of discussion, it was agreed upon that a part of the tournament will be played in other country. So initially, proposal was Dubai. Now, that has been home to Pakistan for their matches when matches weren't taking place in Pakistan. But I mean, the problem which BCCI Secretary Jay Shah has said that one of the biggest reservations with Dubai was the weather conditions there. I mean, it's supposed to be very hot this time of the year, and the boards weren't too keen to risk players' health by making them play in such high heat and humidity so close to the World Cup. So apparently that's the reason why Dubai was not considered as an option. फिर यार काफी debate, काफी चर्चा के बाद settle down हुए on Sri Lanka. And Amit, as our colleague Venkat Krishna B has written in his report, वहाँ पर भी काफी back and forth हुआ in terms of where to play the matches.
Absolutely. Now, just to lay the scene for our listeners, after the India-Pakistan game kind of gets wiped out halfway through, there is also predictions of rain for multiple other games, which is why, the Sri Lankan cricket board decides to suggest that we move all the matches, the last four and the final, that they move all the matches to Hambantota. Now, Pakistan Cricket Board, which is, I think, is the host, but from a fair distance, they give their nod. They said, okay, fine, you do whatever you want. Go right ahead. Now, the actual hosts and the on-paper hosts have agreed to this. Indian cricketers say that, no, sorry, we don't want to go play there. And of course, there are logistical issues because it has been reported by our colleague, as you mentioned, Venkata, that there are no decent enough hotels for the players to stay in next to the venue. Plus, it would have been a logistical nightmare for other reasons. So eventually, the Asian Cricket Council has decided to not go ahead with the plan of moving the rest of the matches to the southeastern part of Sri Lanka. So which is why we are now back to playing in Colombo itself, playing out it rest of the tournament. Now, we are now again, as we started the podcast talking about keeping one eye on the skies, I guess the players will have to be content with putting both eyes on the sky rather than looking at their opponents.
And it's funny because, we are recording this on a Thursday and Venkat was supposed to join us for this recording. Unfortunately, he had to go and cover India's training session, which was supposed to be taking place on Thursday morning. The thing now is that we don't know if any of those training will really matter in terms of matches because, like we said at the top of this episode, it's heavy chances of rain in all those games. Amit mentioned about Hambantota as an alternate venue. I mean, these matches are now being played in Colombo. The first part of the tournament in Sri Lanka was being played in Pallekele. Now they're moving to Colombo where it's like totally wet weather for the next 10 days. Other option that was initially proposed was Dambulla, which is in central part of Sri Lanka, but that proposal was also turned down. Hambantota, like Amit explained, the stadium is closer to the jungle, so that's why the players also had reservations that there wasn't a lot to do apart from just stadium to hotel and back and forth over there.
Yeah, the Indian cricketers are not a big fan of jungle safaris. Huh? I think previous generations, previous iterations of Indian cricketers loved it, right? I mean, we've seen so many wildlife photographs from Anil Kumble. Not these guys, though. They don't like their jungles.
Clearly not. I mean, they have perhaps other ways to let their hair down. But again, like, we are not a judgmental podcast, Amit. Let's not do that. But I think ये थोड़ा सा, मतलब, it gives a very weird kind of final setup to this tournament, because we will now be playing all matches. We, in the sense that the tournament will now be playing all its matches in the Premadasa Stadium in Colombo, where again the reservation is about the condition of the ground. I mean, the Lanka Premier League was being played there until August 20. After that, the pitch has largely been under covers. So no one knows actually how the surface is going to play out. And it becomes an issue because, I mean, purely from India's point of view, this was the last chance for them to kind of figure out their playing 11 and fix that jigsaw before the World Cup.
No, actually, I believe they are also playing Australia at home.
Oh yeah, that's also a tournament. Right. So there goes my theory there.
So of course, I mean, but this was one of the last ones, of course.
Yeah, Australia is going to be a kind of glorified friendly, like we say in football, but here, I mean, there is still...
Not a judgmental podcast, huh?
It is that, let's be honest. It's fact that we are speaking. But say for example, an India-Pakistan...
Mihir, you made more flip-flops over the course of this podcast than I think the ACC and the other mandarins of these cricket boards. I mean, one day they say that, we'll play here. Then the next day they do like a whole rethink. It reminds me of the weather of Kolkata. It just can't make up its mind whether it wants to rain, it wants to be hot, it wants to be humid. Sorry for the digression, Mihir. Please continue.
No, again, it's in sync with this episode. But like I was saying, the Australia series you mentioned, I mean, the reason I didn't have it in my mind is also because there is actually no purpose, no seriousness to those matches. Like, in bigger picture, it'll just be a practice match, a warm-up before the warm-up. Whereas at the Asia Cup, India are playing, say, for example, Pakistan, and the match tension there can't be replicated anywhere else, even though, like Asia Cup, apart from bragging rights, there is not much at stake. But like we saw in the group stage match of the Asia Cup, an Ishan Kishan knock against Pakistan was good enough for the team management to kind of put their faith in him, because he performed under pressure. And there could still be, very well be, 2 full matches between India and Pakistan. One on September 10, which is the precursor to the final, which will be played on September 17, because both teams are looking quite solid. Amit, whatever little we have seen of this tournament, the full matches, Pakistan are looking pretty solid. And India, even though there are thoda sa reservations, again, we can kind of say about the team's performance. But it would have been ideal to have one full week of matches, full 50-over games before the team get into that World Cup zone, which sadly doesn't look like it will happen unless miraculously, the weather gods become kind and polite and let the cricket happen.
I think it also ends up becoming, it leads perfectly to the World Cup, I guess, because the more of these occasions that get rained out, or you get to see only one aspect of, the Pakistani pace battery against the Indian batters, that eventually when we go to the World Cup itself, there'll be more anticipation, because people have only seen slight glimpses of what this contest will actually be like. So, I mean, it's great. Also, Mir, I believe right now that the Indian team is holding its sessions indoors. Its training session is being held indoors because it's raining in Colombo. So I don't know whether that is a...
Not good signs.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they can just play matches indoors, yes?
Cricket indoors, huh? I mean...
Yeah, why not?
That's like a net session at with no fielders, huh? Or are you suggesting the more...
I mean, that could be like one of those box cricket things that we used to play. We still play.
Are you suggesting the more popular version of cricket that people in Mumbai like to play? Book cricket? Is that what you're suggesting?
Book cricket, box cricket, why not? Here you have to be innovations, because Amit, that's the other part which thoda sa unscripted, but I'll be digressing, is if cricket has to go to Olympics, it has to show innovation, and what better than having an indoor cricket version? But lame jokes aside, it has been kind of a flip-floppy week for cricket, not just on ground, but also off it, because Friday was supposed to be the day when cricket was all but certain to be stamped as an Olympic sport. As it turns out, there is another twist to that tale, because the International Olympic Committee, which was supposed to take that decision, has decided to put that decision off by a few days. It looks imminent, Amit, but I mean, who knows? We'll of course do a detailed podcast when we talk about it. But the idea of cricket at Olympics, I know I'm just like jumping into something else, but I wanted to pick your brains on it because we haven't had a chance to do that. Idea of cricket at the Olympics sounds, I don't know, I have mixed feelings, but also it's in a way great for the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, now that we are getting even more serious about winning gold medals at the Olympics, chasing more gold medals than, we've only ever had one gold medal at whatever Olympics we've won golds. So this is a chance for us to at least get, a couple of more golds if the men's team, women's team are both playing. Of course, it's easier said than done because the last few times, cricket has gone to multidisciplinary games. It's not been that easy. Like very recently at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, women's cricket was a thing, but the Indian team didn't actually win the gold. I think they won a silver medal after losing to Australia in the final. So that obviously is going to be a case. But then when you have a cricket-like sport coming into under the umbrella of the Olympics, I believe, I'm not sure if cricket gains too much, but maybe the Olympics will gain a lot of more people. I could be horribly wrong with that. It could always be the other way around, that cricket gains much more visibility from people who had previously maybe not been too interested, especially the Americans. But for my assumption, I believe it could be the other way around, that the Olympics will get much more people looking at it slightly more seriously than they usually do, because for a country of 1.4 billion now, we've always had this, we look at the Olympics with some sort of despair because we always go there. We've usually, sometimes for us, even a bronze medal is like a big success and things like that. So for us to have cricketers, there's more anticipation, there is more hype, things like that. So I just believe that maybe rather than the sport gaining way too many followers, because I don't think cricket is short of followers, but then I think it should be the other way around.
I kind of disagree there because I also feel that, cricket up to जो हम देखे आ रहे, it's largely been a Commonwealth sport, and even in that, it's the cricket map, the world map here is shrinking compared to, imagine now the number of countries who were competitive when we were kids to the number of countries who are actually up there and are doing well now. It's a big difference. And just more than that, I think if cricket has to go beyond those 4, 5 or maybe 10 countries who are regularly at big tournaments, this is a perfect platform. It will, like we were discussing in the Three Things podcast earlier this week as well, being at the Olympics will serve as an incentive for other countries which do not take cricket seriously as a way to invest more in the sport, to kind of form teams. So who knows, say China, who did not have any motivation to take cricket seriously so far, given that they have this urge to be successful at everything that is Olympic sports, they might, start doing well. Similarly, in the USA,
maybe not so much, Mihir, because from whatever I know of China and USA, I think they are very pragmatic that way. They realize that you will have to put in a whole ecosystem. You'll have to start everything fresh. You'll have to groom youngsters. You'll have to do all of that, like put in stadiums, put in all of that effort, put in a proper competitive team of 15 people, and all for one medal. They would rather maybe focus on, building up those in other sports that they already dominate. That's just my...
But USA is already doing it. I don't know China. USA, we're talking about, say, the big tech investing in cricket. You have got Alphabet, you've got Microsoft and all these companies that are betting heavily on cricket. They've invested in the Major League Cricket, which is what USA has a common name. So it's like Major League Soccer, Major League Baseball, so Major League Cricket, which is like their version of IPL. And all these big tech firms are heavily investing in it. Stadiums are being built. So jahan par, for example, Olympics ka proposed venue jo hai, which could be the centerpiece, that's being built in LA by the Kolkata Knight Riders, who are one of the founding investors in the Major League Cricket as well. And also, USA, given that the South Asian diaspora is so big, I wouldn't be surprised if a team of expats would the USA name 11.
Or they could just offer citizenship to a couple of people who've been left out of the Indian team. I know a lot of people...
Sports passports, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. Whether good, bad, we don't know. And also, I think it augurs well for India's 2036 Olympic bid, Amit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Ahmedabad is supposed to be the proposed host city. The bid is at a very early stage right now, but if the games are being held in Ahmedabad, then you have a stadium which is already, it's fairly new, so you don't have to touch it up a lot. It seats more than 1 lakh people. And of course, cricket, Olympics and India is a heading mix as they come.
Let's hope so. Unless the weather gods, again, like while we are seeing at the Asia Cup, there's drama in the weather. Other than that, I think it should be a very successful marriage of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, Olympics generally are in July and August, so, well, wherever they're playing it, the weather will be the biggest challenge. But yeah, I mean, हम लोग पता नहीं यार एशिया से start करके Olympics तक पहुंच गए, USA, China की बात कर ली. We'll see how the weather plays out. Just to kind of recap the weather conditions, it doesn't really looking too encouraging. If you are among the lakhs and crores of people looking forward to India-Pakistan on Sunday, well, during the day, the probability of thunderstorms is 45%, and the evening, it's around 80% of precipitation. And it's not me who's making any guesses. It's the source for this is AccuWeather, which we know is quite kind of accurate as well. So, yeah, I think unless...
In the name, right? It's AccuWeather.
I mean, yeah, with non-judgmental things, we also do make very good jokes on this podcast. So unless, Amit, there is anything else that you wish to add, I think we have covered most of our agenda for today.
Yeah, we have. Now, just to remind our listeners, if there is, I mean, whenever Indian cricket team plays its games next, you should consider coming on to indianexpress.com and follow our live blogs. We usually have live blogs for pretty much everything. All our Asia Cup cricket games, and we also have live blogs for maybe the weather. Who knows? If the weather becomes a big deal, we might even be running a live blog for the weather of Sri Lanka that day.
Such a shameless plug, which didn't even have a very decent segue, but well, job demands. So, well, it is what it is. But yeah, I know kidding, do log on to indianexpress.com for all the latest on sport, and we do have a fabulous lineup writing for cricket and almost everything else under the sun, which India follows and India does not follow. So that's about it for this week. We'll be back again next Saturday, hopefully with I think focus on Asian Games, which isn't too far away now. But yeah, until then, you guys enjoy the cricket. Hopefully, weather will play ball and we'll all enjoy a good match. Thanks for listening.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.